Hello everybody and welcome to the show. This is Andy's Shed Live for this Sunday the 3rd of April 2022. This is series 10, episode number 15. Hello there everyone, welcome aboard for this Sunday evening and welcome back after we were missing last week. But we're back this week, as you can see. We've made it tonight. A little bit late, but we have at least made it tonight. Yeah, all sorts of technical issues thanks to Google last week, some of which are continuing. Basically, I'm just going to move everything away from Google as much as possible because they are not helpful, shall we say. Yeah, they managed to entirely crash my phone out last week. Was it Saturday it happened or Sunday it happened? Totally crashed my phone out. Totally. And it took ages to get it up and running again. So, yeah, lost a load of data and all sorts of things. But we're back now, and hopefully I can open the chat on my phone and see what you've all been saying. Let's see if I can do it. Oh, it's serving me an ad, wouldn't you know it? You see, it's not only you that has to suffer the ads, I have to suffer them as well. But there I am, I think. So that looks pretty good. Right, get rid of the top chat thing. If you've got the chat on and it says top chat, change it to live chat. You'll see a lot more messages. And let's see who is here, if I can read it. Crikey, should have gone to Specsavers. Right, Dominic's here, Penfold's here, Christopher's here. Christopher says he's getting a GPO trim phone, a green one. Ooh, Dominic says, is it a Snowden jade green one? No, unfortunately not. Jimmy's here as well, Dominic. Fat Hobbit's here, Wesley's here. Crikey, everybody's here tonight. Penfold says, are you going to get illumination going again in the dial? I saw somebody on the interweb who used tritium fishing markers to reignite the dial to get the glow back. Didn't know you could get tritium fishing markers, but then I know nothing about fishing. Well, yeah, that sounds like a possibility. Yes, I agree, Dominic. It does sound interesting about the fishing markers. Tritium fishing markers apparently are not cheap, but the effect in the end was very good. He gets here as well, evening. Cool. So, apparently you can get tritium fishing markers, and I've just realised I've not got my phone charger here. Right, I'm just going to have to run and grab a charger for my phone. Just 2 seconds, I will be right back. And I thought I was doing so well today. I thought I was doing so well, having everything ready to go today. But no. Need to plug that in there. Then I can plug that in there. And then the chat won't die on me halfway through the show. Hopefully. Right. Chris says, I'm going to try an LED in a trim phone dial when it comes. He says he's done it with a PMG dial. I'll be very interested to see the outcome of that, Christopher. You need to make a video and upload it. Upload it to YouTube. Make a video about that when you do it, because I want to see what you do. Right. There's been lots of phones arrive here this week. There's been other things arrive here as well. You may have noticed in the title it's called Telephones in the Electric Car. That is because this has arrived this week. Yeah, with the price of diesel going the way it is, that is the latest addition to the fleet. It is a Peugeot Ion electric car. It's about 10 years old. It does about 50 miles to a charge, between 50 to 60 miles on a full charge on a good day. And it's been bought just as a little runaround thing, because basically the repayments on the financing of that car cost less per month than it does to put diesel in the car that's behind it in that photo. So for less than a month's worth of diesel, I get a totally free car, basically. So yeah, and yeah, I know electricity's gone up as well, but it's not gone up as much as diesel has. so it still works. The what's the word I'm looking for here? The mathematics of it still work. That's not the word I was looking for, but I can't find the word I was looking for. Right, Dominic says, how's the studio coming along? It's coming along, Dominic. It's looking all right. I've already been there once this week. It's been so busy this week. But yeah, it is coming along. Currently started putting computer screens in, trying to work out where computer monitors that are going to have the software for running the station need to be in your eye line and all that kind of stuff. So trying to work out the ergonomics of the studio and sitting at the desk and how it's going to work at the minute. But it is ticking along slowly. When we get the internet issues sorted out, which we still got, we'll try and do one of these streams live from the studio, so you can see what's happening. Right. Wesley says, what type of charger do you use, Andy? What, for the phone or for the car? For the phone it's a USB-C. For the car it's well, it's various chargers for the car actually. It can either be plugged in. It's got what are effectively two petrol caps, one on either side, and behind the cap on one side is a socket that you plug a type 1 cable into at the car end, and has got a 3-pin plug on the other end, so you can just plug it into your normal supply at home, which is how it's plugged in that photo there. And on the other side of the car there is what they call a CHAdeMO connector to do this rapid charging. So when you do it on that, it charges up to about 75%, in roughly about 20 minutes, half an hour, something like that. So the Chademo thing is pretty good, it has to be said. I should blur the license plate. Not everybody can see it. Why? Why worry? Everybody can see it. Everybody knows where it is. You can see it. You can see it when you're out on the road in it, can't you? So it's dead obvious where it is. I'm surprised you didn't get something like a C5, says Dominic. You know, I was considering getting a Renault Twizy at one point, but they're so expensive and don't rapid charge and basically don't even come with windows. So I gave that up as a bad job. How long does it take on a 3-pin plug, says Wesley? I don't know from fully discharged, but from sort of about 30% charge to full, it's taken it today about 5 hours, maybe 6 hours. I think you're supposed to do a complete charge in about 7 or 8 hours on a 3-pin plug, running at 2 kilowatts to the 3-pin plug. Apparently, it's roughly about a 16 kilowatt hour battery in it, or batteries in it. Because I believe, I'm not sure, but I believe it's lots and lots of what are effectively AA cells, thousands and thousands of them arranged into packs. I believe it's done that way. Penfold says, it'd be interesting how you get on with your electric car with the range anxiety you are supposed to suffer. Well, let me tell you about range anxiety, Penfold. I fetched this electric car back from Rill yesterday, which is, depending which way you go, it's between 110 and 125 miles away, Rill. And bear in mind, I've just said this electric car on a full charge does about 50 miles. Now the key thing with these fast chargers, they only charge up to about 75% to protect the battery. You can't actually fully charge the battery on these rapid chargers that you see at motorway forecourts and things. So you can only go up to 75%. Of course, you don't go down to 0% battery before you find a charger, because chances are the charger that you're looking for is going to be broken, because a lot of chargers you find out on the road are broken. So you can only really go down to about 20-30%, something like that, before you really want to charge it up, and it only charges up to 75%. So I made, I think it was 9 stops on the way back from Rill yesterday, and the journey that would normally take 2 hours in a diesel powered vehicle took 7 in an electric car. so yes, but in fairness, part of it taking 7 was me not knowing what I was doing and messing about with chargers and things, and basically not having me act in order, sort of thing. But yes, it was a long way to go. Hang on, let me put the light on. It's going dark. That's better. That's improved the lighting somewhat, hasn't it? So yeah. But what the idea of this thing is, though, the electric car. Start again. The electric car won't replace a diesel powered vehicle, but what it will do is it will replace the diesel vehicles on those short day-to-day runs. I basically do about 30 or 40 miles a day without going anywhere, you know, just sort of backwards and forwards and stuff, and that's what it's been brought in to do. On those little hops where I go backwards and forwards like that, it will be replacing the diesel car on that only. But when I go like a distance that's over 50 miles in future, it'll be back to diesel. So yeah, range anxiety, I suffered it a bit yesterday, but I think I'll get used to it. The way to think about it is, why do you get range anxiety and worry about an electric car running out of charge when you don't worry about your petrol car running out of petrol? You know, it's only the same thing. It's how much fuel the vehicle's got on board and how far it can get. It's just the equivalent of having a vehicle with a very small fuel tank, basically. So when you get used to that idea, it's fine. It's totally fine. Don't get me wrong, I was worried about it when I set off from Real yesterday. But it doesn't concern me so much now, because I've driven it a bit and I've got used to how far you can get and stuff, and I've realised that the readouts on the dash are not lying to me. You know, they are what you get. So it's not bad. It's not bad. Christopher says he's going to put this LED in his trim phone and he's going to power it with the phone line power with the 1K resistor, and wire the LED through the switch hook. Doesn't that mean it will only light up when you lift the receiver up though, Christopher? I think. What we really want is one that lights up and stays on all the time. That's what we really want it to do. Chris says, do you have to put a 3.3k resistor in a trim phone? That's a very good question, Christopher. To reduce it from 4N to 1N. Good question, because you normally put that resistor in to limit the amount of power that a mechanical bell can gobble. But of course a trim phone hasn't got a mechanical bell, so it's a very good question. I'm erring on the side of you probably don't have to. But try it. Get like some extension leads and into one extension of a PBX. Don't do it into different extensions of the PBX because they're all separately powered. But into one extension of a PBX or into your master socket in your house or whatever. Get extensions, just normal box standard extensions. Plug 4 phones in, one of which is the trim phone, and ring it and see if all your phones ring. And if they all ring, you don't need the resistor. If, however, something zaps all the power out of the system, like the trim phone zaps all the power so the other phones don't ring, then you do need the resistor. But I'm erring on the side of you probably don't need the resistor, because I can't imagine that the ringer in a trim phone would draw that much juice. Dominic says, I think when battery technology develops enough, a brilliant publicity stunt would be to run a competition to see who can go from Land's End to John O'Groats with the least number of chargers. Yeah, well, that's simple. The person that's not driving the electric car can go from Land's End to John O'Groats with the least number of chargers. That will not be a fair competition, because it all depends how big a battery pack you've got in the vehicle as well. I mean, there are some vehicles with battery packs 5-6 times the size of what that's got in it. Now, as you find out when you're waiting for them to charge at a charger, because you pull up to a charger and there's a car already on the charger and you think, oh, rapid charge only takes 20 minutes, and 2 hours later you're still there because they've got a car that's got a massive battery in it. Hence why it takes 7 hours to get back from Rill. Wesley says you do have to put the resistor in a trim phone. 8722, which was the official plug-in trim phone, had a 3.3k resistor fitted from the factory. There you go then. You've got it from Wesley, and Wesley is never wrong. So, yeah. He says, I did it on a push bike once. What, Land's End to John O'Groves? Really? On a push bike? Crikey. Right. Away from the world of the electric car for a minute, and there'll be more about that in the future, I dare say. Yeah. Oh, the thing about why do they blur number plates and stuff? It's nothing to do with privacy. Blurring number plates on TV shows. You often find with TV shows cars don't have number plates on, or they have them blurred out. It's not generally to do with privacy. What it's more often to do with is the fact you would see the same car on lots of different programs because the cars come from pool companies that supply vehicles to film and television programs. And also, if there is a car that is what they call a hero car, so it's a car that's an integral part of the show, like for instance the General Lee in the Dukes of Hazzard, or Kit in Knight Rider. Of course, there wasn't one car. There was maybe 20 or 30 cars per series, because every time they jump one, of course, it writes it off and stuff like that. So they had lots and lots of them, and so they didn't get it wrong. They would just take the number plates off. And I think on the Dukes of Hazzard, they used to have like American flags on the number plates instead of the actual number plates, if I remember right. Kit on Knight Rider had a number plate, but it was a fictitious one. It was Night 1, so everything just had Night 1 on it. And the Ferrari and Magnum PI, I think, was Robin 2, but I could be wrong. But yeah, it's mainly continuity why they blur out number plates, just in case the wrong one was on there. But it doesn't do anything to protect your identity, because you know, a number plate is designed to be seen, isn't it, by anybody who walks past. So right. What was I doing anyway? I get sidetracked so easily. Well, he says plenty of sugary snacks was all he needed for his push bike ride. Really? So you just ate like Mars bars and things, and so he went from Land's End to John O'Groats just sucking a Mars bar, and that was it. Is that right? Right. Anyway, today we've had a few phones arrive this week for the telephone orientated amongst you. Yeah, don't ask. I'm going to have to move house soon because the telephones are outgrowing the building. But yeah, first one to arrive recently, if I can get it on a camera, is this. Okay, spot what's wrong. It's easy, isn't it? It's easy. Of course, everything's upside down because it's one of them that's designed to be one of them. Yeah? So it's designed to be that way up, of course. But it's an interesting mix of bits. We appear to have got a black handset, a green case, a grey dial bezel. Underneath, no clues whatsoever, absolutely totally blank. It doesn't look as if it's ever said anything under there. It is totally blank under there. No clue at all as to what's been going on with this. So I've got absolutely no idea. It has, however, got an interesting round hole cut there. It looks like it was probably for a switch or something, and it's not quite in the middle, if you can see that, but it is fairly round, but it doesn't seem to do much of anything. So if anybody's got any idea what this may be about, let me know. The only thing that I'm wondering is if this has something to do with London Transport, because they had a lot of these 706 clone phones that were converted for wall hanging, because I think they were basically the cheapest wall phone they could get. So I'm wondering if it's something to do with them, but I don't know for certain. But it looks like it's a private phone. It's got a number in there which is a 5-digit number. So if it's on a private system, it's quite a big system to have 5 digits in it. So I've got no idea where it came from. If this colourway of phone looks familiar to you, this strange colour combination, then let me know. Tell me where you think you may have seen it, because I've got absolutely no idea where it came from. Wesley says it took 12.5 days to go from Land's End to John O'Groats. Oh no, 12.5 weeks. No? No, it'd be days, wouldn't it, on a barcode thing? Was it 12.5 days, Wesley? Or was it 12.5 weeks? No, it wouldn't be weeks, would it? No. It'd be weeks if I did it, because I'd be falling off every 500 metres. But Dominic says, I noticed a 1959 706 in red on eBay the other day, but I think it's been snapped up now. Penfold says, here's the hole for a jack plug socket. It doesn't go to anything. Penfold doesn't go to anything. It's just a hole. It's normal on the inside. It doesn't relate to anything. But this phone has been mega messed with, because there's all sorts of things wrong with it. For instance, if I take the top off it, these screws, which are supposed to be retained, are not retained. There's no nut on the back of them to retain them, and you can then take that off. You see, and then that sort of, that is all loose then. And inside, you see, there's nothing unusual, really. Is there anything I can date it with, though, on the inside? That's an interesting question. Because sometimes capacitors and things have dates on. can't see anything. Oh, hang on. The top of the bell there. Oh no, that's bell 59A. Yeah, fine. No, I can't see anything. Sometimes capacitors have dates stamped on them, but I can't see one on this, unfortunately. It does, however, say on the back of there, patents applied for. So what's all that about? Patents applied for. They don't normally have that written on there. And also the dial, it's a dial 12, but it's a bit weird, this dial 12, because it's got this strange plastic backing stroke internal surround on it, which I've never seen before. So I don't know what's going on with it. It's very, very odd, this one. Very odd. So I'll put it back together and wait for another day to try and sort this one out, I think. I've not quite decided what we're going to do with it as yet, how we're going to go with the restoration of this one, whether we're going to leave it as it is or try and put it back to what we think might be original. But I've not really got any idea what might have been original on this, because it's been messed with so much. So trying to discover the originality of it might not be terribly easy. So that arrived. Is there a date on any of the elements here? Oh, 65 says on that, so that could be reasonable. Oh, and we've got an electronic transmitter there, so sack the juggler. Electronic transmitter in that end, so that shows that's been done sort of post about 1980-ish. So I don't know what's going on with that. It's an interesting one, that is, so we'll leave that one for later. Now, while I was in Rill yesterday going to collect the electric car, I was walking down the street and I was amazed how many junk shops there are in Rill. I don't mean antique shops, I mean proper old-fashioned junk shops with everything piled to the ceiling, anything and everything just piled in the shop, sort of thing. Just the sort of shops I like going and having a rummage round. So as I was on my way to collect the electric car, I went into a couple of these shops and I got this for a tenner out of one of them. And look, it's got a line code on. It's almost worth a tenner for the line code these days. So this appeared out of one of the shops in Rill. It is a very grotty 746, and while I was there, I said to the man in the shop, "Have you got any more phones?" And he said, "Yeah, there's one down there underneath that stuff." So I moved a load of stuff and found this. And I said, "It's broke, mate." He said, "Oh, you can have it for £5 then." So I've got that one as well. So £15, 2 telephones. Who says you can't still find a bargain these days? So there we have it. Both Mark II 746s. Unfortunately not 706s. I'd have been well happy if they'd been 706s. Do we know anything about date? Well, this has had it scrubbed off underneath, but I think it's 70, could be 73, it could be 75. S1046 L or F, don't know. It would be F, wouldn't it, in 1975? So that one we don't know about. This one is an 8746 from 1981, but if I carefully remove that sticker, this is what I normally do. I normally take them off and stick them somewhere else. Oh, and it's all been removed under there, so you can't see it. Right, just bear with me a sec, folks. My phone is ringing. Back in just one moment. My phone isn't ringing. It did ring, but it stopped again. So maybe it was the wrong number or something. So yeah, so that hasn't helped because I've took that off. Oh, it can see it on the back. Oh, excellent! It's all come off on the back in reverse writing. So it's a 746F for figure, SPK 76/1. Can you see that? SPK 76/1. So I will actually put it back exactly where it was then in that case, because that tells us what it is. So it was a 1976 phone originally, and refurbished in 1981. And as you can see, it's absolutely hanging. It really is. It's filthy. So we might have a look at that one in a minute. But first up, we need to do something about this. So, being as there's almost more case missing than there is present, I think this is a little bit beyond repairing the case. If I'd got the bits, I'd probably do it just for a project, but I haven't got the bits for it. So I think we're going to remove this case and fit a new one. So in the back, oh, it feels like we might have actually got the spring in the back of here as well. Yeah, we have. The spring is present, and that spring and the little nut on the back there. So I will remove those. Oh, it doesn't want to turn. It's stiff. That nut, it doesn't want to come off. Right. And you need a little pair of pliers. Right, I'll go and find a little pair of pliers. Back in a sec. I have returned with my genuine telecom toolbox. Right. Right. That little nut, let's see if we can grab it. Now this is where it gets tricky now, because you've got to sort of grab the nut turn this at the same time. Oh, it's coming, I think. Nope. Oh yes, I think it fits. Yes, got it. So there's the screw on the spring, and there's a little nutty thing off the back, and I think it matters which way up. There you go. So I'll put that bit to one side for a minute while I find a replacement case that I just happen to have handy. So we'll now stick all this back together if we possibly can. There we go, that's reassembled that. Right, so next question now is, I've done that. Now I've got one with a dark bezel on it here. Now, who can tell me when they use dark grey bezels or when they use light grey bezels? I've never quite worked this out. I'm told they started with dark grey bezels, because if you think about it, 706s have dark grey bezels. They started with dark grey, I'm told, then switched to light grey, then switched back to dark grey again later on. But I don't know if that's correct, and if it is correct, I don't know when it happened. So anybody who's got any information, let me know. But I picked this one up purely and simply because the old one hasn't got a bezel, so we don't know what colour it had originally. And I just prefer the two-tone rather than the old bland grey, because grey is not the most inspiring of colours, really, is it? So the case for this is now done, and we can look at the wiring now. Now the wiring, for some reason the micro switch doesn't seem to switch. It's not pushing down, so that must all be jammed up, I would think. What did it do, the micro switch? That's the question. So let's have a look at the old case a minute and see if the little plastic button's got anything written on it. And it hasn't. Nothing written on it. See, it doesn't give us a clue at all. So I don't need to bother changing the plastic button, because this one's already got a plastic button in it. But interestingly, this plastic button's the wrong way around, because if you look at the slope of the button the button slopes forward, and of course the case here slopes backwards. So I think that button is the wrong way around in that, because in this broken one you'll see the button slopes backwards like the case does. So we need to turn this button around, and the way you do it is simply by pushing it in, and then two little pegs under here, in here, will fall out. So I'll move the microphone out the way a minute. So you can hopefully see what's going to happen here. So on the desk like that. Will they fall out just by doing that? No, they won't. Have to give them a little assistance with something. See if I can just grab them and pull them from the inside. That's one half out. That's the other one out. That's it. One of those little things is being a bit awkward, but there you go. Just two little bits of metal there. They're really easy to lose. Trust me, been there, done that. So now we have to put this back in so it slopes backwards. Now, so right, let me get it on the camera again so you can see what's happening. So that's how it was. So that slopes backwards, yeah, but this was in sloping forwards like that. So I now need to put that so it slopes backwards, so when it's pressed it matches the profile of the phone. So put it in that way around like that, and then it's a case of putting these little bits of metal back in. When I've struggled with this, Wesley's going to tell me there's a really easy way to do this that I don't know about. I'm sure he is. Sure he's going to enlighten me in a minute as to the easy way. But basically you can just put the bits of metal so they're resting in that, if you want, like that. So the bit sticking out the back, bit sticking out the front, and then just put it down inside there, and then just press it home in theory, and it should just go click click. And be in. Oh, one's gone in. The other one's sort of gone half in at the minute. Oh, that's it. Right. So that's it now. They're in. And now you'll see that the button matches the profile of the case. Yeah? So I'm pretty sure that's the way around it should be. Cool. Right. Hello, what's that on there? Right. Dominic says dark grey plain bezels came around about the early 80s, I think. Yes, but were they dark grey early on as well? I think they were dark grey early on as well, sort of as soon as the alphanumeric ones disappeared and they went to plain on the 746. I think the early ones were dark grey, but I don't know for certain, but I think they were. Bill Cipher was taken, says, hello, I'm new here. Hello, Bill. Nice to see you. Right, so, what have we done? Right, so we've got a case. We've got a chassis. We need to put the two together. I'm not going to convert this for plug and socket yet because it's not got a line code on it anyway, so we'll do that conversion when it gets a line code. Does the dial work? Yeah, it's not too bad actually. It all just feels dusty from being in that shop for years and years and years. It's got 500 ohm bell coils, so it will need a 3.3 kilo ohm resistor to convert it. It is also missing the spring out of here. The switch hooks don't stay up. Oh, hang on, no, that's it. Now 706s have a spring across there, don't they? 746s, I believe, do not have the spring. 746s are powered by that spring holding that up there on top of that micro switch. That is the switch up. So yeah, we've put it all back together there, so I think that is looking fairly good. So I think we should be able to put this back in here now. Put this back on, or put it on for the first time actually, because it's a new case. And of course this is where we find that nothing fits, because it's a new case. Yeah, really nothing fits. It's miles out. It is absolutely miles out. What? Right. I wonder if it's had a whack. You know how that case was broken? I wonder if it's had a whack on the top and everything's bent a bit, and that's why the case won't go on. That would explain a lot. Right. Because it looks to me like this dial needs to be up some at its top edge, like that. So you can adjust it slightly, but will that be enough to make it fittable? This is where I do my customary swearing about the design of the GPO's cases, but I managed to get it on just by adjusting that dial a bit. So there we go. Now the question is, now will that line up? And fit? And again, that is not slips. That is not where it should be. Again, things are not lining up correctly. I think this has had a smack. I think that wants to be in a bit like that. Definitely think this has had some impact damage, and that's what broke that case probably. There we go. Now that looks better. Now let's see if we can screw this in. Yep, it's gone in. Excellent. So I think it's had a whack on the top and it bent that and bent that. But a little bit of adjustment and we've got a complete, well, an almost complete 746. It's missing the opal out the dial, as so many are. Let's have a look at the handset. See if this gives us any clues to age. Right. This unit was made by STC in 1975. By the looks of that. So didn't I say the phone was 75? No. So let's see. Oh, I said it looked like it might be. Didn't I? 746. This might be SBK as well, and it could be 75. So yeah, so this is probably the original element in here. Let's have a look at the other end, because I think I know what we're going to find in here. And it's one of those electronic things that makes all the buzzing and that. So yes. So that's been changed at some point. But there we go. That is 1746. Right, what's everybody up to in the chat before we move on to the next one? Dominic says, I think the plain dark bezels only came about later, because I think dark bezels stopped with the end of the alphanumeric ones, but not certain. You see, I don't think they did stop. I think they carried on for a bit, the dark ones, because there was a time when some 746s were being issued with alphanumeric bezels and some were not. At the changeover to all figure dialing in late 60s, early 70s, some 746s were being issued with alphanumeric bezels after other 746s had been issued with plain bezels. It all depended what area the phone was being issued in and what the exchange equipment was. But the switch worked then. I made it work then a minute. It's stiff, but it does work. It looks like it's a redial switch. It doesn't hold down, so it's not a bell on off. It looks like it's a redial. So we will deal with that when we come to convert it. So there you go. That's that. Alright. Shall we have a look at the other one? So the next one then is this very grotty 8746. And it is very grotty. First thing I should be doing after this is washing my hands. I mean, yes, you can clean the phone before you work on them, but they're equally dirty on the inside as they are on the outside, so I never really see as it's much point. Oh, another one where it's actually retained with a spring. there we go. Having said about me grotty on the inside, that one's actually quite clean on the inside. So it's an 8746, no resistor, because when they converted them to 8746, what they did was they actually changed the bell coils for 2000 ohm ones, and they normally say that on them, but this pair doesn't. But trust me, it will be a 2000 ohm coil. So this is wired for plug and socket, so I should be able to just plug this one in, and it should, in theory, work. So, shall we give it a try? Right. Let me find my extension. That goes into there, like that. Have we got a dial tone in it? Oh yeah, we have. Oh, that's rather good. So if I dial on that 21, it should make something ring. And it does. How about that? So you know the drill now. We blow into one, listen in the other, and make sure it's working both ways. Yeah, and I can hear that in the ivory one, and I can hear that in the black one. So that is working. So that's amazing. Let's just have a look inside the handset on this one. This is STC, looks like 76. Oh, blimey, who's put that on there? Hang on a minute, put it on my knee and do it. Jesus! Oh! God, I think Incredible Hulk could put that together. Oh, a nice carbon microphone. Can we see a date on it or anything on it? Gen, that. GEN 814. So this was rebuilt in 1981, wasn't it, as an 8746. So when this got rebuilt, this, oh, it's not a carbon. Yes, it is a carbon microphone, that. Yeah, it is a carbon one. I think. Yeah. So this was put in, this carbon microphone, when this phone was turned into an 8746, probably. That was probably when it got fitted. So there we go. So that one works, in actual fact. Lovely. One is suitably impressed with that. Right, I shall unplug it again. And again, for now, we can put the case back on there, I think. Because for now, that all works. So, as always with these cases, that thing there under the front lip of the phone. Make sure you've got it all lined up. Which you won't have. Right. you have to make sure you've got the dial bezel rotated so the finger stop goes in that little notch there. So there we go. That's all back down now. And do that up, but do not do them up too tight. So that's that. So that one actually works. Not a bad tenner spent there in real on that one, little thing. So that's a good one. But it does need a scrub. It definitely does. Right. Right, what's everybody on about in the chat? Gambo sent some pics apparently. Bill says every Sunday an old 1980 telephone box near me always rings. Nothing to do with me, honest gov. Chris says the button might be a recall. Yeah, I think it was a recall button, Christopher, because it was only momentary. You know, when you let go, it sprung up again. So I think it's a recall one. Penfold says, I'm glad I'm not the only one to have trouble installing the cases. You are certainly not the only one, Penfold. I've complained about time and time again. It is the worst design in the history of time, particularly when you consider that these are supposed to be a copy of the American 500 series, i.e. one of these, and getting the cases on and off of these is just so much easier. So much easier. The Americans got it right, the Brits got it wrong, I'm afraid. But that's just the way it is. I'll put this back on the floor where it was. Yeah, the Americans definitely got that right. Right, although if you'll see me restoring the dial on that phone a few weeks ago, I was having second thoughts for a moment when I was trying to take the dial apart, which you can't do. So, we've about cracked it. Right, what's this about these photos, Gambo? Right, so Gambo got some photos, allegedly. Let's see if we can find them, shall we? If Google's rubbish email will play ball, which I'm thinking it might not, actually, at the moment. Let's have a look. Mail server says application specific password required. So what's that? Google has just been a real pain in the bum just recently. Really, really first class pain in the ass, Google has been just recently. In fact, so much so that I am going to be getting rid of my Google email, because they are going to make it so you basically, your email has to have two-factor authentication on it, which is just such a pain. So I'm setting up my own email that doesn't have two-factor authentication on, and getting away from Google. Alright. If you use two-step verification and get the password incorrect error when you sign in, you can try to use an app password. Oh gosh, I've got to go through all that malarkey. Gambo, just resend those photos please to andy@callpress.net, because then it doesn't go through all this stupid Google stuff. And that goes for anybody else out there as well. If you wanted to send me anything, I can say it, because the spam bots can't work out email when you say it, can they? If anybody wants to send me anything, it's andy@callpress.net is the email address to send it to, and it'll come directly through then. But it's just such a pain in the bum, this two-factor authentication nonsense. It really is. But YouTube won't let you be a creator now without two-factor authentication. It's such a pain. I hate it. Two-factor authentication. I absolutely hate it. I only had a password for years and years and years, and nobody's hacked me, and if the Russians really, really want to know what's going on in my email account, they are more than welcome to have a look. Oh, apparently what Gambo sent was a photo of the 706 trial phone. Apparently. Alright, hang on a minute. Yeah, right, okay, it's fine. I was just looking at the chat on a bigger screen so I could see it. It's the eyesight, you know. It's the eyesight going. Well, it says, I don't mind two-factor authentication for banking. I hate it for everything. I hate, loathe and despise it. Two-factor authentication. Won't use it on banking. I just use a banking app, so you can just put in whatever in the app, you know. So my banking app basically just knows who I am, and it just asks me for a PIN number, you know what I mean? Which is the same as happens on the cash machine, isn't it? So, but there's some sort of clever authentication for that specific copy of the app that's on your phone, I guess. But it happens in the background, so you don't have to deal with it. So that's fine. It's when they keep bloody texting you and ringing you and, we have sent you an email, please put in the code in the email. Then you've got to go into your email and your email's not working. Oh God. And this is what I was going round and round with last week, because when my phone died I couldn't log into YouTube, because every time you try and log into YouTube it says, we have sent a message to your BlackBerry Key 1. It doesn't bloody matter, I can't get into my BlackBerry Key 1. And that was exactly the problem that I had last week. And it is still been an issue. So basically I'm just moving everything I can away from Google. I wish there was a way that I could publish this first to library and then to YouTube. I can do it the other way around, but I wish I could do it to library first and then YouTube, because then I'd go library first with it, and YouTube can stick their premieres where the sun don't shine. Jimmy says my banking app just asks me for 4 digits. Yes, Jimmy, so does mine. Yeah, that's not so bad. But when it's all this nonsense about... It's Google that started it. All this nonsense about two-factor authentication. And eBay's trying to do it now. Every time you log into eBay now, it asks you for your phone number. And I refuse to give it my phone number. So I go back to the previous page and then forward again, and then it skips that asking for your phone number thing. But I refuse. What it is, it's nothing to do with security, really. It's just so they can get more information out of you. It's just so they can get your bloody phone number. That's what it is. Because then if they've got your phone number, they can track your whereabouts. There's all sorts they can do. It's Google. Google is a nasty, nasty company. They are monitoring your every move. Google are like Microsoft. If I had my way, I wouldn't have anything Google. I wouldn't have anything Microsoft. Well, I don't have anything Microsoft. All the computers that I've touched for years and years now, including the ones that are going to run the radio studio, all run on various versions of Linux. It's all open source. It's all Linux. And I just wish there was an open source operating system that you could wipe your mobile phone and put it onto your mobile phone as well. They thought of bringing one out a while back. They were going to bring out Ubuntu, which is a Linux distribution, on your phone. But the project sort of fell by the wayside somehow. I think it didn't really take off. But I wish it had, because I'd have used it all the time. Penfold says, two-factor authentication does not work when I'm offshore. It keeps trying to phone me while down Africa offshore. It simply does not work. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. As soon as you can't get a phone call, you're knackered. And a friend of mine who is blind has real problems with it because, they text you a blooming password thing and he can't read the sodding text. So yeah, he has massive problems with it. But I'm having enough problems with it this week, I tell you. If Google was a tangible thing, if Google was a tangible object, that you could hold in your hands, I'd have thrown it in the sea long ago. Right, okay. Anyway, rant over, as Big Clive would say. So, 3 phones have arrived this week. The green upside down phone, the grey smashed up Mark 2746, and this ivory basically complete and working but just very grotty 746. Others have arrived as well, but I will leave that until next week. In fact, I think by next week some others will have arrived as well again. So yeah, it suddenly got quite busy. After a few weeks of lull, suddenly there's lots of stuff arriving. So yeah, right, have I got anything else to tell you? No, I think that's about it for this week. I think I'll let you know how the electric car gets on this week as well, by the way. I'll let you know how the first week in service goes. Like I say, it's nice enough to drive, but the trouble is it doesn't go very far on a charge, and that would be okay if when you got to the charging stations worked. I'm looking at you, Ecotricity. Yeah, it's the charging stations. All I can say about electric vehicles is they are not a viable option to replace your diesel or petrol car with at the minute. Buy one as an extra vehicle by all means, like I have as an extra runaround, but don't replace your normal car with them, because they're just either the car's not up to the job, it doesn't go far enough, or some of the more modern ones do go a lot further, but still when you need to charge it, the charging system is just not up to the job. They're all run by different companies. Some you can use a bank card to do. And that's another thing that happened yesterday. That's another thing that took me a long time. I was swiping a bank card on these chargers sort of every 30 or 40 miles or so, and after I'd done this contactless swiping, because there's no pin pad on these chargers or anything, it's all contactless, you've got to do it contactless. After I swiped it on about 3 or 4, my bank decided it wasn't going to let me do contactless anymore, because it thought there was some mysterious transactions going on, because I'd used it so much in a day. They decided to stop me doing contactless anymore. So luckily I got another bank card that I then started using. But so yeah, there are a lot of people out there in this world who have got very good jobs inventing these systems who ought to go back to school. That's all I can say. Christopher says, I've just sent a photo to show the trim phone. It looks like green or blue. I got the old 1970s plug on it. Wesley says, is the range on the car due to the state of the battery, or is that all it will have ever done even when new? The battery's degraded a bit, Wesley. But not much, actually, not much. They Peugeot said they did, well, I think they claimed about 80 miles or 80 something miles from new, but I don't think they ever did that. I think basically somewhere in the 60s is what they actually did from new, and now on a full charge, and now it's looking like on a full charge it's going to do somewhere in the 50s. So there is a small amount of degradation of the battery, but over 10 years it's not a massive amount. The scandal of the electric car is, though, when the batteries do degrade, these cars will not be worth mending. So you'll actually find more old cars going in landfill sites and being scrapped and not being repaired than there ever were in the diesel and petrol era. And okay, you can recycle all the parts perhaps if you want to take it all apart and put all the plastic over here and all the metal over here and that, but that takes a huge amount of energy in itself. It's far better just to keep something going than it is to recycle it. You know, for instance, if you've got a plastic plant pot, let's say, in your garden, right, it's far better to reuse that plastic plant pot every year for putting your plants in than it is to throw it in the bin every year, for it to be taken back to a plastic travelling up factory that turns it into plastic pellets, to take it somewhere else, to use a load of heat to melt the plastic, to reform it back into a plant pot, to deliver it back to a shop for you to get in your car, to go and buy it from the shop, to go and bring it back home because you want a new plant pot. It uses far less energy just to reuse the plant pot, and it uses far less energy just to maintain a car than it does to build a new car. So the scandal is, all these idiots from Extinction Rebellion, and yes, if you are a member of Extinction Rebellion, you are an idiot, go swivel on it, all these idiots don't know what they're talking about, because they want us all to have electric cars and things, and they are going to be far less ecologically sound than a diesel. And let's get on about pollution and that. Diesel does not pollute. The only thing that diesel gives out is particulates that, like any kind of particulate from anything, including sand off the beach, you can inhale and can, under certain circumstances, cause cancer. But we're not banning beaches, are we? But yeah, if you inhale sand, silica, that is extremely bad news. Michael T says, does an electric car engine need oil? No, because it's not got an engine, it's got an electric motor. So no, in the sense of having oil in a sump. There is, however, a gearbox which is a single speed gearbox, but it's like a reduction drive. That does have oil in it. So there's engine in a reduction drive single speed gearbox, but there's no oil in the engine because the engine's just a motor. So I mean, there's probably some bearings on it that would need lubricating every so often, but they're probably sealed for life. They're probably designed to last many years, I would think. But yeah, I'll tell you more in about 10 years time on that one. But yeah, the electric cars are not green, and I think you will find, I think it'll probably take about another 2 or 3 years, and then I think you will find huge numbers of them turning up in scrapyards. Huge numbers of them. Wesley says, I quite agree with the plant pot analogy. We should go back to using milk bottles, etc., rather than recycling plastic milk bottles. Yes, Wesley, yeah. Actually, milk bottles is not such a good one, because they do have to collect the milk bottle back and take it back to the factory and wash it and refill it and then bring it back to you, don't they? So milk bottles is not such a good one, because you do have to take it back and then bring it back. Anyway, what would be better is if they put the milk into the bottle on your doorstep. If a big wagon full of milk came with like a petrol pump nozzle thing, maybe they could use petrol pump nozzles when we don't have petrol pumps anymore. Maybe they could recycle the nozzles and use them for dispensing milk out of a milk tanker. I would like to see a huge milk tanker come down your street every morning, painted black and white, shaped like a cow perhaps, that drives down your street with a nozzle, and it just fills your milk bottles up on your doorstep every morning. If that happens now, right, I've got patent on that. Right. Gambo says, according to Deborah Messenger, I think he means Deborah Meaden from Dragon's Den, glass uses more carbon to recycle or refill. Well, it use a lot to recycle, because you've got to melt it down, like you've got to melt down the plastic. Michael T says, I've still got my 22-year-old Peugeot. It says it's red. Well, pink now. Yeah, that's excellent, Michael. So what registration will that be? That will be a... Oh, that'll be one that have to be like an X or Y plate, won't it? It'll be like letter, number X, or letter, number Y. Something like that. Is it diesel? Does it run on cooking oil? Oh, it's a 206 petrol. Oh well, better luck next time. If it had been a diesel, I think they run on cooking oil. And I think they did do a Peugeot 206 diesel around about that era. As it says, glass is extremely energy intensive to create, hence better to reuse than recycle. Anyone remember deposits on bottles of pop? I do remember deposits on bottles of pop, Wesley, and it is better to reuse it than recycle it. That goes for anything, any item, no matter what it is. It is better to reuse it than it is to recycle it. And it's better to reuse it for its original purpose as well than it is to use it for something else. Because when you use it for something else, you're wasting time and energy and effort in converting it into that something else. So it's better to use it for what it was always used for in the first place. So in other words, it's better just to build things that last. Which is something they don't seem to be able to manage these days. Wesley says, my Seat is a wire registration diesel. Good, Wesley, keep it. Keep it. Old diesel cars will be proven to be the best cars. If you've got an old diesel before they started putting all this electronic nonsense on them, and yours will be at that age, keep it. Yeah, whatever it costs to repair it, if it costs 20 grand to repair it, it's worth repairing it, honestly. It's worth repairing it. If you gave me a clapped out old diesel car and you gave me £100,000 and said, right, you can either spend that on repairing that car or you can go out and buy any brand new car, I'd repair the old diesel car. Definitely, because they used to go a lot further. Has anybody... this is how short people's memories are. We have these super eco cars now. A smart car is a really good example of this. This is one of these little eco super mini cars, isn't it? A smart car. It pays almost no road tax, pays very little road tax, because it's supposed to have got incredibly green credentials. A smart car will do about 60 miles to the gallon. Yeah? Well, I seem to remember in the early 1980s when they came out with the Austin Mini Metro that they trumpeted did 100 miles to the gallon. Now, something that does 100 miles to the gallon has got to be more eco than something that does 60 miles to the gallon. And a Mini Metro, for anybody who's ever had one, will attest, ain't got no computers or none of this guff on the engine, none of these fancy exhaust gas return valves or any of that old nonsense on it, and it does 100 miles to the gallon. But of course, when they say now be eco-friendly, be environment friendly, what these big companies actually mean is buy our latest project that's got loads of crap added to it to actually make it do less miles per gallon, so you spend more on fuel. Because if you spend more on fuel, the government will like us because they get more ka-ching. So what do you think the government would rather you do? Buy a smart car that does 60 miles to the gallon, or buy an old Mini Metro that does 100 miles to the gallon? Which one do you think they get the most ka-ching for, the government? It's got absolutely nothing to do with the environment. It's to do with money and selling stuff. And all these idiots that go gluing themselves to the road or blockading oil terminals are all too brain dead to realise that. If you are a member of Extinction Rebellion, what you ought to do is glue yourself to the road, but not bother stopping the traffic first. Right. Anyway, that was another rant. That was another Big Clive style rant. By the way, if you don't know who Big Clive is, type in Big Clive Live into YouTube. He does a brilliant live stream on a Saturday night starting at about 9 o'clock. Fantastic Scottish guy, Big Clive. Very, very, very funny and very, very switched on to what's going on in the world. And a bit technical too. He's an electrician by trade, but very, very interesting. It's been my Saturday night viewing now for almost as long as he's been doing it, 2 years maybe. Right, what's everybody saying in the chat before we go? Penfold says, hopefully 746s etc. will be recycled as well. No need for them to be recycled. You can still use them. Just keep using them. Wesley says, I only pay £30 road tax for mine, and it's a wire edge diesel. How do you only pay £30 road tax for it, Wesley? How does that work? How do you get cheap road tax for that? Actually, it's over 20 years old, so shouldn't it be free road tax for a vehicle that's over? Does a vehicle over 20 years old not get free road tax anymore? Penfold says, my 1987 Mini Metro MG 1300 was mile to the gallon friendly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, Mini Metros were brilliant. 100 miles to the gallon. Some of the smaller engine ones. I mean, yours was 1300. Yours have got quite a big engine, but some of the smaller engine ones, 100 miles to the gallon. Oh, it says it was not mile per gallon friendly. Yeah, well, it's because it was 1300 and it was an MG variant. Yeah, it was the hot hatch sporty one that you had. You shouldn't have had the hot hatch sporty one. You should have had the bog standard basic sort of 850cc one or whatever it was. Penfold says it's free road tax on over 40-year-old cars. Right, oh, it has to be 40 now, does it? Well, it used to have to be 25 at one point, because I had a Beetle that nearly made it into that category many years ago. So 40 years. So the Land Rover in the garage, which is a T-Reg, have we just got there with that then? I think we've just got there then with that, haven't we? T, when was T? R was 76, wasn't it? S will be 77. T was 78 then. 70, 80, 90, 2008. Oh yeah, well in. So the old Land Rover in the garage then is free tax, yeah. So all I've got to do now is it's a petrol one. So all I've got to do is fit a gasifier unit to it, so I can burn wood and charcoal and power it off that. Which is what we all should be doing now that the oil companies have all put their... You see, again, people have forgotten that when we didn't have any petrol or any diesel in the Second World War, there were all kinds of alternative fuels that you could use. You can run an internal combustion engine on basically almost any kind of gas, and you can have these gasifiers that you can put coal into, you can put wood into, you can put charcoal into, you can put the grinds from these pretentious coffee shops into as well. You know, the used coffee grinds will go in a gasifier, and you can run a car on them. In fact, the used coffee grinds example, Jem Stansfield, television special effects guy, he did it on a program called Bang Goes the Theory. I think he did it with a Volkswagen Passat, if I remember right. I think he went right round the country in a Volkswagen Passat, powered by coffee grinds from all these coffee shops that were springing up, all these Starbucks and things. Jim says, I only paid £30 for my Mercedes diesel 1960cc in 2011. Excellent. That was a very good deal. Now, I know for a fact they do run on cooking oil, those old Mercedes diesels. So yeah, go down Tesco's, buy your cooking oil, tip it in the tank, off you go. Christopher says, I'm going to the Tate train for the first time soon. So I'm having trouble reading this. I think since my phone got rebooted and reinstalled that, I think all the text is even smaller than it was before. On the trim phone I'm getting will be my first one. Excellent. Worsley says, I can't recall when the new 40-year rolling exemption started. It says last 5 or 10 years. Yeah, it certainly was 25 years. It certainly was a 25-year thing. But they're just rip-off merchants. They really are rip-off merchants. What I want to know is how much energy an electric car actually uses compared to a diesel or a petrol car. Because the reason I say this, and what I mean by energy, is something drives that car along, yeah? But that whatever fuel it is that drives that car along, whether it be diesel, petrol, gas, electricity, whatever, that fuel comes from somewhere and is produced in some way. Now, when you take into account how that fuel is produced, how far it travels, and crucially, and this is the crucial bit that people often don't understand, the losses incurred in transferring that thing from what it was to what it becomes. Because every time you turn something into something else, you lose a bit of the energy stored within it. Then how much energy does an electric car actually use? Because for electricity, for instance, you go and fill your electric car up at these things like I did the other day, but that electricity comes from a power station. Now that power station may get its power by wind, by solar, by gas, by coal, by nuclear fusion. But all those ways of making electricity all employ various pieces of equipment, sometimes lots of it, sometimes not so much of it, but all of that equipment has to be made by somebody and transported and blah de blah de blah de blah. So how efficient is it when you take into account all of that energy that's used in actually making the different types of fuel? And I think when you take all that into account and the losses involved, I think electricity is probably one of the least efficient types of fuel in terms of its production you can have. Because you think about those wind turbines and that. Well, firstly, they're a huge thing to build, so lots of resources go into building it. So lots of aluminium and fiberglass and steel. Then you've got to transport the thing to where you want it, which these days is often in the middle of the sea. So you've got to put it on a big ship with massive diesel engines that then float it out into the middle of the sea. You've then got to erect the thing. You've then got to maintain the thing out in the middle of the sea. And you've got to pay these guys a fortune that go out into the middle of the North Sea, climbing up these blooming wind turbines. I mean, nobody's going to do that for the minimum wage, are they? And then half the time the wind doesn't blow. So how energy efficient is it? Now, if you really want efficient electricity, I say the efficient electricity would be a solar roof on every house. And I don't mean solar panels on your roof, because that's pointless. A solar panel on your roof, you've got your roof, and then somebody comes along and fits a load of solar panels on the top of your roof, adding weight to your roof. That is totally pointless. Why not make your roof out of the solar panels, so you don't have to have the slates or tiles or whatever up there? Solar panels, as far as I know, are waterproof. So make your entire roof out of the solar panels, so you're paying for one item, not two items. You're not paying for a roof and for solar panels, you're just paying for a solar roof. Do it on every house, and then have a thing in every house where first choice for power comes from your solar panels, and have a little readout, a little Raspberry Pi computer or something that says your panels can produce this number of kilowatts of electricity at the moment. We expect them to produce this amount of electricity tomorrow and this amount of electricity the day after. When would you like to turn your washing machine on? When would you like to turn your kettle on? And when would you like to recharge your Tesla Powerwall? And that's how we should do it. And I reckon we could probably cut off the national grid. There's a very, very good guy on YouTube. The channel's called The Narrowboat That James Built. And he has basically completely rebuilt and refitted out a 1970s traditional canal boat, narrowboat. And he's put a couple of solar panels on the top of that boat, and that is basically all he has for power. And he lives on it most of the time, and he does YouTube, so he's got a computer on there and stuff, and cameras on there, and he's got electric lighting and stuff on there. He's got kids that come and want to play on a Game Boy and things and stuff, you know, so he uses a reasonable bit of electricity, and all he's got on the top of that boat is two solar panels. So how much do you actually need if you're not sending it here, there and everywhere? And I think if you produce DC electricity and use DC electricity near the point of source, so it doesn't have to travel far through a wire, because DC is lossy if it travels through a wire, then I think that is the efficient way to do it. We shouldn't be paying these power companies. We should be saying, up yours to the electricity bill, up yours to the gas bill, and we should be investing that money in putting solar panels on our roofs. and that is going to be my next move. Now the electric car is here, because I want to charge that car without spending a penny. My aim is to be able to travel around without giving the government or any other fat cat organisation a single penny, because they don't deserve it. So there you go. Right. Christopher says, I just sent a photo of my trim phone. I'll have to have a look for it over the week, Christopher. I'll get back to you about that one next week, because like I say, all the emails are playing up and that. But like I say, if you want to send me an email, folks, send it to the new address. Send it to, quite simply, andy@coalpress.net. Yeah, andy@coalpress.net. It's as simple as that. Send stuff to that email, and it'll come straight to me, because it won't get intercepted by the spying Google. Wesley says he's getting his PBX together. Excellent, Wesley. Says they haven't had a chance to test it, but will this week. Excellent stuff. Oh, and by the way, any of you who have got CNET running off my server at the moment, it is still down, I'm afraid. The server had a major crash out a while back, and it is still down. I've really got to dig deep to look into it. So my apologies for the CNET server being down, but it is on my list of things to do. The trouble is, my list of things to do is written on a roll of Andrex, because it's the only piece of paper I could find that was long enough. Right, okie dokie. So I think that probably about wraps it up for this week. It's been a bit ranty, this one, this week, hasn't it? It's been a bit ranty, yes. That's because there's been a lot of organisations that have annoyed me this last fortnight, so I'm taking the opportunity to get back at them. But yes, thanks to everybody for taking part again. Like I say, if you've sent photos and things, I shall endeavour to find them and recover them and whatnot, ready for next week's show. Yeah, I think we're on next week. Yeah, we should be anyway, unless anything weird happens, like aliens land or anything like that. Christopher says, is the wiring of a trim phone the same as a 746 phone? Yes, Christopher, exactly the same. Exactly the same. You can use the diagram that I've often shown on here. I just don't know where it is at the minute. I don't think I've got a copy of it easy to find at the minute. But yeah, you can use the diagram that I've often shown on here, about how to wire a 746 or a 706. Wire your trim phone up exactly the same. It is literally exactly the same. And as I think it was Wesley said earlier, you do need the 3.3 kilo ohm resistor in it, but it all goes in exactly the same places. The only thing that's different is the two wires that go to your bell coils obviously go across to the lower circuit board in a trim phone. That you'll see when you get it anyway. You'll see that. Yeah, it's as simple as that. The one thing I will say is trim phones are sometimes a bit critical with ATAs, with the make-break ratio of the dial. If it doesn't work with your ATA, or if it dials wrong numbers, the two contacts on the dial that pulse to do the make break, just bend them together a little bit. So if they're like there, like that, when they pulse it, bend them so they're there, so they effectively make sooner and break later. and you'll find that will solve the problem. And it says it's going to wire his trim foam the old way. Excellent. Right. Gambo says he sent the photos to the new email, hopefully. Right. Well, as it's 8 o'clock, I'm afraid I've got to fly, but I will route them out, Gambo, and we'll find them for next week, and try and sort it out for next week if we can. Right, it is 8 o'clock. It's time for me to climb back into said electric car. So I've got to make one little journey to finish the day off today, and then that'll be it for another weekend. Thanks to everybody for watching today. Sorry it's been a bit ranty, but you just have to get it off your chest sometimes, don't you? We will be back same time, same place next week, all being well, provided nothing mad happens. So until then, have a fantastic week ahead. But just before I go, remember, if you'd like to join us as a patron, you can. Sponsor the madness here at patreon.com/Andy Shed, and you can also get onto the forum as well, talk about telephones or anything else that takes your fancy at gpotelephones.proboards.com. Somebody tells me they did have problems registering for this last week. If you do have any trouble registering for it, can you let me know, please? Because it's letting people in who are already registered, but for some reason somebody said it wouldn't let them register. So I don't know if it was the browser they were using or what it was. But if you have a problem, can you let me know, please? And of course, we have the website as always. andyshed.corepress.net is the website for back episodes and much more besides. And if that wasn't enough, we've got the shop as well. andysemporium.corepress.net is the shop. You'll find one or two interesting items in there. But that really is as far as we go for this week. Thanks to everybody for taking part once again. Remember, if you've not done so already, give it the old thumbs up. And if you're not a subscriber, subscribe to the channel, because it really, really does help us out. That's one of the best things you can do. But until next time, I'll now go and freeze to death in the electric car where you can't run the heaters because it uses too much electric. See you soon. Bye.